I met this kid named Aurelius. 17 years old. He's sitting on the steps of an Uma, a traditional longhouse, with his grandfather inside carving a ceremonial bowl. But Aurelius isn't watching. He's scrolling Instagram on a borrowed phone, squinting at the screen in the filtered jungle light. Hey, welcome back. If you're new here, I make documentaries about cultures that are standing at a crossroads, not the romanticized version, but the real, complicated, human version. Today we're heading to one of the most isolated places in Indonesia, Sibrit Island, part of the Mentawai archipelago, about 150 kilometers off the coast of Sumatra. This is home to the Sukudai people, one of the last groups in Indonesia still living in ways that stretch back centuries. But here's the thing nobody talks about: their kids don't necessarily want to live that way anymore. So the question we're exploring today is simple but huge: will the next generation keep these traditions alive? Or are we watching the end of something that's been around longer than most countries? What makes this story especially tricky is that it's not about good guys versus bad guys. It's not evil modernity destroying innocent tradition. It's way more human than that. These teenagers in the Sukudai communities are being pulled in two directions at once. On one hand, their elders are saying, "This is who we are. This is what makes us Mentawai." On the other hand, they're seeing opportunities on the mainland: school, jobs, a world where you don't have to hunt for your dinner. And honestly, I don't know what I'd choose if I were them. Let's talk about what's actually happening on the ground. The Sukudai are a subgroup of the broader Mentawai people. They live mostly in the south-central interior of Sibrit, deep enough in the rainforest that, historically, they could avoid most outside interference. No chiefs. No centralized power. Just families living in communal longhouses called Uma, practicing what anthropologists love to call an egalitarian society. Their spiritual system is called Arat Sabulungan. It's animistic, meaning they believe that spirits live in everything: trees, rivers, animals, even objects. Health, in their worldview, isn't just about your body. It's about balance. If the spirits are upset, you get sick. If you break a taboo, things fall apart. That's where the Saikiriai come in, the shamans. These are the people who can talk to the spirits, who know which plants heal what illness, who lead the ceremonies when someone dies or when a new Uma is built. And here's what's important: being a Saikiriai isn't just a job. It's an identity. It takes years of training. You memorize chants. You learn to enter trance states. You get specific tattoos that mark you as someone who walks between worlds. But here's where it gets complicated. Starting in the 1950s, the Indonesian government decided that the Mentawai way of life was backwards. They launched aggressive modernization campaigns, forced relocations, bans on shamanic practices, police confiscating sacred objects and cutting Saikiriai's hair. Christianity and Islam arrived with missionaries. Schools taught kids that their parents' beliefs were primitive. By the 1990s, a lot of this had eased up. But the damage was done. Entire generations grew up disconnected from their language, their rituals, their land. Now, in 2024, there's this weird tension. Some communities are trying to revive the old ways. Others have fully embraced modern life. And the kids? They're stuck in the middle. Until very recently, Sibrit was basically offline. But now you can buy Wi-Fi vouchers in certain spots. Suddenly, kids who've never left the island are watching TikTok. They're seeing Jakarta, Singapore, Los Angeles. They're hearing pop music. Learning slang. Forming new ideas about success. I'm not going to say, the internet ruined everything. That's lazy thinking. It can preserve culture too. Some Mentawai youth are using phones to record their elders' stories. But it also shows them a world where being traditional looks like being poor. Where what makes you unique also makes you backwards. Young Mentawai people are constantly negotiating. They grow up going to church or mosque, but still perform forest rituals before cutting down a tree. They wear modern clothes but respect the Sikyrii. They want smartphones but also want to know the names of the medicinal plants. It's not either or. It's both and. But that's exhausting. Let me tell you about something happening quietly. The Mentawai language is disappearing. Not gone yet, but endangered. In government schools, kids are taught in Bahasa Indonesia. Teachers often don't speak Mentawai. Kids grow up fluent in Indonesian, picking up only fragments of their own language. When you lose a language, you lose concepts, specific ways of thinking that Indonesian simply cannot express. There's a dictionary project trying to preserve one Mentawai dialect before the last fluent speakers pass away. Young researchers are interviewing elders, recording words, grammar, context. But even if the dictionary is finished, it won't matter unless kids want to use it. Unless speaking Mentawai becomes cool again. There's a cultural education foundation on Siberut called Yayasan Pendidikan Budaya Mentawai, YPBM. They run after-school programs in 5 villages, teaching about 120 kids traditional skills, basket weaving, forest gathering, identifying medicinal plants, traditional dance, songs, stories. The founder, August Tongjiat, put it like this: most children here do not speak Mentawai language anymore. When they speak to our elders, they speak in a foreign language that our elders don't understand. Think about that, grandparents and grandkids living in the same village, unable to have a real conversation. Let me tell you about someone specific. There's a teenager, let's call him Doni, who's training to become a Sikyrii. His father is a shaman. His grandfather was a shaman. It's the family path. But Doni's also smart. Really smart. His teachers say he could get a scholarship to study in Padang, the big city on the mainland. Maybe even university. Here's the choice he's facing. If he stays and completes his Sikyrii training, he's committing to years of apprenticeship. Learning hundreds of medicinal plants. Memorizing ritual chants. Getting the tattoos, which are expensive, traditionally costing a medium-sized pig, several palm trees, chickens. Even if his family can afford it, it's a huge investment. But if he leaves for school, he's probably not coming back. Not really. Maybe for visits, but the deep knowledge? That's gone. And it's not just the boys. There's a girl, let's call her Santi, who wants to learn traditional tattooing. It's one of the most sacred Mentawai arts. But there are almost no master tattooists left. Training is painful, expensive, and doesn't pay the bills. Her mom wants her to finish high school and maybe work in tourism. It's steady money. But Santi feels this pull. She says the tattoos are like a language written on the skin. If no one learns to read or write it, it dies. We get culture wrong when we treat it like a museum exhibit. Culture isn't something you preserve in amber. It changes, adapts, evolves. The question isn't, will Mentawai culture survive exactly as it was in 1950? The question is, will Mentawai people get to decide what their culture becomes? There are signs of hope. Cultural education programs are growing. More villages want them. Kids are starting to see value in traditional knowledge, not because it's authentic, but because it works. Because knowing which plants heal you is useful. Because speaking your grandparents' language connects you to something bigger. Maybe the future isn't all or nothing. Maybe Doni goes to university but comes back during breaks to learn from his father. Maybe Santi learns traditional tattooing and also graphic design. Maybe a generation grows up speaking 3 languages, practicing 2 religions, creating something entirely new that's still undeniably Mentawai. This isn't a tragedy. Not yet. It's a choice. And the people making that choice are just getting started. If this story got you thinking, I'd love to hear your perspective. If you want to support Mentawai cultural education programs, there are organizations doing important work. And if you found this valuable, share it with someone who would appreciate it. Next time, we're heading to the Himalayas to meet young Tibetan nomads dealing with the same tension. Until then, take care of yourselves. And remember, culture isn't something you freeze in time. It's something you live. Religion adds another layer. Islam arrived in the 1700s. Protestant missionaries in 1901. Catholics in 1953. But instead of replacing traditional beliefs, the religions blended. Many young Mentawai go to church or mosque but still respect the forest spirits, still make offerings, still consult the Sikirii. For them, it's not about theology, it's about belonging. Being part of their family, their community. But some Christian and Muslim leaders say you can't do both. Some traditionalists say the same in reverse. The kids are caught in between, just wanting a place where they belong. So why does any of this matter? Because it's not just about culture. It's about ecology. The Mentawai belief system is built around sustainable forestry. Rituals dictate when you can cut trees, how much you can take, when you must replant. These aren't superstitions, they're environmental management practices. But if kids stop believing in the spirits, the rules stop mattering. And logging companies start to look like opportunity instead of threat. Indigenous knowledge is scientific knowledge. Mentawai people know which plants treat malaria, which roots stop infections, which leaves reduce fever. If no one learns that knowledge, it's gone. You can't Google it. Once lost, it's lost forever. So here we are, back to the question we started with, will the next generation keep these traditions alive? Honest answer, I don't know. Nobody knows. What I do know is this, it's not up to us. It's up to them, the Mentawai youth, the Sukhothai kids with 1 foot in the forest and 1 foot on Instagram.